Thank you, Lindsay. We need more than love in here. We need a little bit of aliveness. I'm sure you're alive, but I'm sure you got more sleep than I did, so maybe I'm just on fumes. So it's Father's Day, yes. And I don't know about you, but I have had an interesting experience with fathers in my life. I actually heard from my father for the first time ever in my entire life, like right in the row before Rachel, right here. I found him on Ancestry DNA, and he messaged me on Father's Day and was like, yes, I am your father. And since then, I think he's texted me or messaged me or tried to call me every day since then. That was like 3 years ago. So yeah, that's pretty cool, huh? So there's this whole experience of like hindsight and what we know now that we didn't before, and how we see our parents as adults and just human beings, whereas when we were younger, we might have been like, why'd they screw me up so bad, you know? Or not, right? Maybe they were great and wonderful and perfect. But anyway, I've had the opportunity to meet somebody who I think is really special, really dynamic. And when he shared his story about fatherhood and grandfatherhood, I was so inspired, because I love it when people can admit and be vulnerable to where they had some shortcomings, but then they try to, step up for maybe the next generation. And honestly, I think that's the cycle of life, how it used to be in tribal communities, and now, the wisdom keepers would raise up the young ones. So Floran, Tony, you guys got my kids. And then people my age would go out and do the hunting and gathering and whatever. So I just think that this is a beautiful experience. So his name's John O'Connor, and I don't know if you've met him or not yet. He's fairly new to our community, not as new as some, newer than others. And you might have seen him before with a Chorus of the Union hat on. Anybody seen the guy with the Chorus of the Union hat on? Okay. So he has this vision. He had this mystical experience, and he has this vision of bringing people together. Yes, ladies? Okay. He has this vision of bringing people together through what I'm going to just say is a diversity. Oh, here's your grandchildren right now. Look at you looking good. Oh. Is a lawyer, a patent lawyer, and he's been on many different boards. He's met with many different people, and he grew up in the South Side of Chicago, and he's at least in his 80s, and he was a single only child, right? So he's got that kind of confidence of like the child who's always been told you were beautiful, wonderful, great. Yeah, maybe. And so he's got this charisma about him, but he's humble and he's kind. And I think what a great example of the second half of life, or the fifth half of life, as he might call it. And he's going to go ahead and read to you the lyrics of this Chorus of the Union. It's really, they created this mystical order, him and his beloved, and they're wanting to share and collaborate with us. And so I think that'll be a beautiful experience. But first, I wanted him to get to know you guys, and you guys to get to know him heart to heart. So, John O'Connor, would you please come on up?
Need some inspiration.
Happy Father's Day.
Here, do you want your mask? I probably shouldn't touch it, Well, yes, I was born to be pampered, okay? And I love it. I can't resist it, okay? And I really do want to thank you, Nicole, for this privilege of sharing with your congregation of really good and gentle people. To listen to to hear my poem, listen to our better angels. I'm also grateful for the opportunity. I hope to be able to work with Lindsay Huntley in this musical center to put music to the words and make it into a song and have everyone sing the song with me. That's the vision. Can you imagine everyone in the country sing and listen to our Better Angels? Now, I didn't get that phrase. You know, that comes from Lincoln's first inaugural address. All right. It was about 5 years ago I had a premonition that inspired my soulmate and myself really to co-found the Mystic Order, DB as, doing business as the Chorus of the Union. There we go, all right. I probably haven't lost my accent entirely, but yeah, I'm from the south side of Chicago. You know, they used to call me Jack Connors because that's everyone. My name is John, but everyone heard my name as Jack. Well, that was the nickname for my grandfather on the Irish side. Well, he left my grandma May, and fortunately, she was able to pick up the house in Chicago that was about 10 blocks south of Mayor Richard J. Daley's home on Low Avenue. I don't mean his grandson, who was the chief of staff for President Obama. We went to the same law school, incidentally. Not Obama, myself, the chief of staff. In fact, you know, I had a real tough time deciding which Irishman I was going to vote for when McCain and Obama were running for office. Yeah, well, I found out that he was an Irish, but in Ireland there's a plaza that's named after him because he has an Irish ancestor. So, you know, an ancestry with, we're cousins. In fact, because I'm an only child, you're all my cousins of different degrees, you know, and that's how so I can't call people brother because I don't have brothers or sisters, so I'm calling everyone now cousin. So, Cousin John, and away we go. When I came out here in 1979, I'm really a migrant. I'm from the land of Lincoln. And not only is it colder back there, but the culture's different because of just the history and weather and what have you. In fact, out here in California, we're now road warriors. Right, son? I was with my son the other day riding around. Well, he's a road warrior. Well, you know, he's a road warrior because he's been out here since he was 12? No, I don't know. You were pretty young. At any rate, yeah, I started hanging out with him when he was about this long, right? A little bit longer. And yeah, he had a cone head. Really, I was looking at him, boy. But it rounded out, you can see. He's now got a round head. You know, my mom, God rest her soul, I came in 76, and so she came out here in 79. She sold the little house we had in Chicago and bought a place in Leisure World, and that's where I live. In fact, I picked it out for sight unseen. Believe me, I'd never let any of you guys pick out a place for me sight unseen, all right? But she had that much confidence in me. I don't know why, because in about 3 years I hit my midlife crisis when Grandma May died, and I really went into a guilt trip. Boy, I really felt bad that I had abandoned her back in the bad weather back in Chicago. She went senile, busted a rib, and good thing though Aunt Rosella, who lived in the neighborhood, used to watch out for her a little bit, and her sister lived upstairs. But it was still, I felt real guilty about it. And what happened, well, when she passed away, I was living in Palos Verdes. I thought I had really made it big, I thought I was really a hot shot. And down the hill, up the hill, down the hill. About 4 years of that, and you go a little crazy, you know. And I really found out that I was dying slowly. I think that's the best way to explain it. I was dying slowly, and I just first had to take care of myself and deal with my midlife crisis. Then I could reboot my family. And so I wound up here in Newport Beach, living in one of those efficiency kind of one-room place with a kind of kitchen attached to it and bathroom. And Johnny was living over on the beach, my son Johnny. I'm John the elder, he's John the younger. So that's how you can tell us apart, other than we don't look like each other. So I call that when we were down and out in Newport Beach, right, son? Yeah. And when I stopped supporting him in 1984, and he's been on his own since, although now we're working together. We have, and I'll tell you more about that later. But when you might say, liberated him, or no, I didn't do it, he liberated himself. $500. The orange Pinto my mother bought me when we moved out here, I thought that was hot. 4 on the floor, had a racing stripe. Come on, you know, in Chicago, the cars just rot away. And out here, you got to have a fancy car. But back there, you could drive. You don't need an automobile. You can use public transportation. That's probably maybe the biggest difference between back east and out here. You really can survive, you know, back east in terms of moving around in the cities, because they're cities. These are automobile cities. They're not the same. This Father's Day, I want to particularly honor you, son, for the way that you handled the recent death of your wife, my grandchildren's mother. Cindy and I also want to honor and express our undying gratitude to the signers of the Declaration, all the nation's veterans, including my great-uncle Mike, who sailed around the world with Teddy Roosevelt's fleet, and my father and all the men who fought in the Second World War, including my professor Don Banner, who became the Commissioner of Patents under the Carter administration. And Noble Lee, how about that for a name? Noble Lee, he was the dean of my law school. And Edmund Palmer, who taught me, you know, partnership law. Both of them fought in the First World War. How about that, huh? Not only that, the dean said, practicing law has kind of an aspect of the ministry. Huh, here I am, because it's true. And I'll tell you why as we go on here, all right? God bless their souls. In my world, you see, with each new day, we're born again as innocent as newborn babes. And like Nicole referred to in the Easter service that we had here, that one of my role models is Socrates, and I like the dialogue on the Republic. That's what it says, you know, one of his most complicated Republic is Plato's discussion of what is justice. Aha, that's telling me it's 10 minutes are up, huh? Okay. Gee, we could really, here's what I want to get to quick, all right? So, in preparing for this talk, I talked to a number of different people, including Simone and and some of my classmates from college. And I studied chemistry in college, and I'm a scientist, really, and I became a patent lawyer second. And scientists will tell you that there's no purpose. This is just an accidental collocation of atoms. That's all you are, a piece of material. Now, Hobbes says that intelligence or somehow matter, by putting it all together into the form of a human being, it'll think. Well, maybe in the sense that we're in the midst of it and it's in the midst of us, but I don't think it's sort of like we're around when we start out, and I want to tell about the hunting pack, because that's what I'm doing with my children. I have to teach them. Fatherhood is about example. If you're a good example, you'll pass that along to your children. If you're not, that'll be passed along to them too. Sorry, that's the way it works, all right? So my example is here's my grandfather, who left my grandmother May, who I had a guilt trip about. So when I was a little kid, he came by right after the Second World War, because I don't remember my father until he came back from the Second World War. He was this hero I got his picture. I used to have his picture, still do, all right? And he's still my hero, and along with Uncle Mike. And long story short, that we really didn't become human beings until we invented language. Now, we didn't invent language until we had a campfire to sit around. And when we had a campfire to sit around, the men would go out hunting. Even the bonobos, which are benign chimps, you might say, they hunted too. It's in our DNA to hunt. So I formed a hunting pack. There they are, my hunting pack. John's the sales guy. Dylan's the he's a writer. He's really an author. And then Nick, he's the business manager. That's the toughest job, you're going to find out. we let the prima donnas do what they do, but we got to pull it all together. So, I think I better wrap it up. Okay. I want to tell you about my dad. That the only thing we have to fear is fear itself. Fear is not justified in any form. So my father, like Sam Elliott, all right, he wasn't on Omaha Beach. He had a fight in the battle across the Rhine. Hey, they had as many casualties in that battle as they had in the D-Day landing. The Germans were putting up, the Germans, the other half of my DNA, you know. At any rate, he had to face that fear. He had 2 battle stars. He didn't have to do it. He didn't do it just once. He did it twice. So we just have to keep feeling overcoming our fears, right? It's fear of annihilation of the ego. Sorry, that's going to happen, so get used to it. All right? All right.
They're standing up for you. Oh. Thank you, John. So it's really about hindsight, yes? It's about seeing the past and the present and then picking it up and taking charge and leading your pack into the future, yes? Yeah. And so I want to honor Steve Blue for sharing a video on Facebook because it was so inspiring to me, and it reminded me of this hindsight about what we're going through right now collectively, and it has a father and a son, and it's very sweet. John, whenever you're ready to put it up, we can play that. But I just want to honor you because whether or not you're able to get your words all out here, and he has a lot to say, you guys. Like he's passionate, so it's hard to put all your different things together, right? Or leave things out that all feel very important. But I think we could all feel the love there. Oh, I will, yes. Okay.
Tell me the one about the virus again, then I'll go to bed.
But my boy, you're growing weary, sleepy thoughts about your head.
Please, that one's my favourite. I promise just once more.
Okay, snuggle down, my boy, though I know you know full well. The story starts before then, in a world I once would dwell. It was a world of waste and wonder, of poverty and plenty, back before we understood why hindsight's 2020. You see, the people came up with companies to trade across all lands, but they swelled and got much bigger than we ever could have planned. We'd always had our wants, but now it got so quick. You could have anything you dreamed of in a day, and with a click. We noticed families had stopped talking. That's not to say they never spoke, but the meaning must have melted, and the work-life balance broke. And the children's eyes grew squarer, and every toddler had a phone. They filtered out the imperfections, but amidst the noise, they felt alone. And every day the skies grew thicker, till you couldn't see the stars. So we flew in planes to find them, while down below, we filled our cars. We'd drive around all day in circles. We'd forgotten how to run. We swapped the grass for tarmac, shrunk the parks till there were none. We filled the sea with plastic, because our waste was never capped, until each day when you went fishing, you'd pull them out, already wrapped. And while we drank and smoked and gambled, our leaders taught us why. It's best to not upset the lobbies. More convenient to die. But then in 2020, a new virus came our way. The governments reacted and told us all to hide away. But while we all were hidden, amidst the fear and all the while, the people dusted off their instincts. They remembered how to smile. They started clapping to say thank you and calling up their mums. And while the car keys gathered dust, they would look forward to their runs. And with the skies less full of voyagers, the earth began to breathe, and the beaches bore new wildlife that scuttled off into the seas. Some people started dancing, some were singing, some were baking. We'd grown so used to bad news, but some good news was in the making. And so when we found the cure, and were allowed to go outside, we all preferred the world we found to the one we'd left behind. Old habits became extinct, and they made way for the new, and every simple act of kindness was now given its due.
But why did it take a virus to bring the people back together?
Well, sometimes you've got to get sick, my boy, before you start feeling better. Now lie down and dream of tomorrow, and all the things that we can do. And who knows, if you dream hard enough, maybe some of them will come true. We now call it the Great Realization. And yes, since then there have been many. But that's the story of how it started, and why hindsight's 2020.
Because if you look at the camera, they know someone's filming it because they can see you.
Exactly. If you look at the camera, they know someone's filming it. Okay, lie back down.
Wait, can I just practice right now?
Yes.
1, 2, 3, 4.
I was just trying to relive the best bits of my day. Cheers.
I don't want to lose that, do you? I don't want to lose that. I really enjoyed I didn't enjoy. It was painful, a lot of it, let's be honest, but I enjoy the outcome of it, right? And so, like he said, some of the greatest things that we get to be and do and live in life come from some of the hardest times, right? Marjorie, thank you for letting me use your phone. And so what I want to say to you this Father's Day is, maybe, I don't know what your relationship is with your father. Maybe you look back on fond memories. Maybe you look back on regret. Maybe you look back and wish things were different. maybe you don't really understand or comprehend the whole idea of a father, like I didn't for a long time. And what I want to invite you to just take in is this idea of hindsight, of how something that can seem rather painful can, over time, generate something so much more profoundly beautiful than we could ever imagine. And so let us just remember that and keep that in our hearts the year of 2020. Let it be the hindsight so that we don't ever go backwards. Sometimes I was telling Gabe, my son, I said sometimes there just comes these points in your life where you are like opening a door and it closes on the other side, whether you like it or not. He was talking about growing up and feeling like he's had these kind of ego deaths or these mystical experiences, and he can never be who he was before, but sometimes he slips back into it. And so I was reminding him that you can never fully fall back, right? But you can, that upward spiral will bring you back to an experience that is similar, just a little bit more soulful, a little bit more inspired, a little bit more understanding. And so, happy Father's Day, everyone.